Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I just want to talk about the levels of possession. This is important to know because if you're not aware of the subtleties that can come with possession or the types of possession, you may be experiencing the effects of it without realizing. It may be upon you or somebody that you love. So, the first type of possession is complete possession. This can occur in the form of an epileptic fit. So this is where the seizures take control of the whole body and the person is unable to move their body, and they may come around after a few seconds or a few minutes. With regards to possession, it can occur in such a way of different time periods. So it may be for a few minutes, it may be for a few hours, you can be possessed for months or years. And that is the same with these levels of possession also. The second type of possession is the jinn possession of the brain. This is where the jinn has located itself inside the brain. They are able to control your senses, they're able to control your tastes. You may experience hallucinations, so you may see visual hallucinations or auditory hallucinations, such as hearing voices. What they can also do is paralyze parts of your body or move parts of your body involuntarily. So you may have a freezing up sensation of the arm, you may have a type of seizure of an arm or a leg where you're unable to move it. This is all part of partial possession or where the jinn is inside the body. So the other type will be the presence of the jinn and the patient. This is where the jinn has surfaced out of the body, but the patient is also still aware or semi-conscious of what is happening. The jinn will be able to speak and the person will be able to speak, and this can occur during ruqya. You may see it in ruqya. The person will be trying to speak and the jinn may be trying to speak. What can also happen is, at this time, the person will feel what you are doing in the ruqya and the jinn will also feel what you are doing in the ruqya. This is why it's really important not to do any type of physical harm to a person to who you are doing ruqya upon, even yourself in self-ruqya. The only time that there is even a slight physical beating will be during ruqya from an experienced raqi, because they will be aware of when it is just the jinn alone. When the person and the jinn are physically surfaced, the person can experience the pain that you inflict on them, so it's important to be very careful. It may not just happen during ruqya, the person and the jinn can also be surfaced throughout the day, in which case they will both be aware of what they're doing. The person may be in a semi-conscious type of state where they remember what they've said or they remember what they are doing, but they are somehow unable to control it. So, for example, they may go out alone into a park or a garden on their own or spend time alone in the dark, and they are aware that they are doing this, but they can't quite explain why. It's also because the jinn also has its preferences on what to do, and it will also be the jinn witnessing the environment as much as the person. The other type of possession is the complete presence, and it is the common presence. So what this means is it's a subtler type of presence of the jinn, where the jinn is within the body at all times, but it surfaces only for moments, or it may speak only for a time. So they may say, for example, in a conversation, one sentence. This type of possession is common in marital sihr, so the sihr of separation, because what the jinn aim to do is surface at a moment and even speak in the voice of the person. So they will say an offensive statement that may cause an argument, and the spouse will think that is the person speaking as it is in their voice, but in actuality it is the jinn that is speaking and they are causing an argument. So you will react by being offended and the argument will thus continue, and this is how they eventually can lead to the unfortunate cases of divorce or separation. So the way of recognizing this type of possession instead of it being a psychological illness will be that in a psychological illness, a person will remain in this type of state for months or weeks as until they are cured from the medication. They are constantly saying bizarre things, they are constantly saying offensive things, and they are constantly in acting strange. In jinn possession, when the person is surfaced and the jinn is more hidden, if you like, and they are not reacting, um, the person is normal. They will act and speak normally. They will function as how you've known them to be, and they will be in character. They may not be depressed or anxious or behaving bizarre or self-harming, but they may also have a slight level of anxiety because of the situation, but otherwise they are themselves. That is the difference between this type of possession and a mental illness. Whereas in a mental illness, the person is constantly like this. It may also be that in the possession, people, they can't always remember what they've said. So they may say an offensive statement 2 seconds ago and not remember what it was that they've said that has caused an argument, or what it was that they've said that was really offensive or bizarre or blasphemous. Another way to tell would be obviously their reaction to the Quran and the Ruqya. So they may experience the paralysis or fits or laughing or crying during the Ruqya or listening to the recitation of the Quran. There are lists of symptoms of reactions to look out for online and on our website. So now I'm going to discuss a little bit about how you can control this type of possession, what you can do that will help. If you feel that you're experiencing a more subtle type of possession where the jinn surfaces just for moments and you find yourself in arguments, especially with your spouse, it's likely that you're going through this type of possession. And what the first step to do will be to identify it. So how do you identify it? This is a process of looking out for this type of behavior. So what you do is you observe your behavior and your conversations and see where along the line have you found yourself getting angry without a rational reason, or where have you said something that was really out of context or inappropriate. You could keep a log to see what has been going on for the past few days or weeks to find what you are saying. You could even ask people around you, such as your spouse or your family, to tell you when have you said or done things that were really out of context and inappropriate, and what it was that you said may even help. Because reading this or finding out about it will help you to realize that it was not you, and help you to realize your situation a little better. And with understanding of your situation comes the ability to control it more, which leads me on to my next step. You can prevent the symptoms, and you can prevent the symptoms by ruqya, but you can also control the situation where you've said something to cause an argument. And this is more precisely to do with the sihr of separation, because if you're having an argument with your spouse about something that the jinn has said in your voice, your spouse is going to think that it was you, or you may think that it was your spouse, when in actual fact it was the jinn and they are trying to cause an argument. So your next step would be to choose your next words wisely and try to diffuse the situation. So if you realize a statement has been made that was out of context or a cause of irrational anger, or you are getting irrationally worked up and angry and you can't seem to control it, or you can't remember what you've just said, you can then diffuse the situation by using lighter words, calming down to the best of your abilities, or even leaving the argument as you realize that the argument is not being caused by you or your spouse, but in actuality is being caused by the jinn. You can then come back to the situation in a calmer way and talk about the issues if there even was one. You can diffuse a situation with your spouse if it's your spouse by trying to highlight to them that they are irrationally worked up and questioning them as to why, so they can start to realize that it may not have been them, as they may feel that they are justified in their anger. In marital sihr, it can also be the case that both people are possessed, and this can make it a lot more difficult. But if you are possessed as well as your spouse, if you do your self-treatment and your ruqya, you can bring your symptoms down to a level where you can control them. This doesn't mean that you'll be in control all of the time, but when this kind of situations occur where you've said something or you have acted out in a way and you cannot remember, or it was out of context, you can then go back to your ruqya as you realize that the ruqya is the cause of the problem and not something that you've done or your spouse. You can also control your waswasa. This is regardless of if it's marital sihr or if it's just possession that is occurring to you. Waswasa, the nature of waswasa is the shayateen try to make you believe that this is not something that you can control, or it may just be our understanding that we feel helpless and not in control of the waswasa. The way to control waswasa is just to realize that you can. It's not an endless string of words just going through your mind that you cannot control. The minute that you realize that this is something under your control, the waswasa can stop. You can also try to help your situation if the waswasa is really bad by controlling your waswasa and then reading Ayatul Kursi or the last 3 chapters of the Quran and feeling in control, and inshallah the waswasa will be silenced. We are now also offering a free ruqya service according to the Quran and Sunnah, where the Raqi will recite Quran upon you and make Sunnah supplications, and inshallah this will help with your symptoms. If your symptoms are really bad, do get in touch with us. If you feel that you're in control of your symptoms, continue with your self-ruqya treatment and inshallah you will improve. I have included the details on the website and on YouTube. Inshallah, I hope this video helped. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.